Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Castaway Anime. I'm your host, Neon Manta,
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
and we're coming at you with the hot new show of the summer season, Call of the Night.
We're taking the night pill with this one, lads. That's basically what the entire show... Huh?
How long did it take you to come up with that one, huh?
Not very.
Night pill?
I mean, it's basically what the show's entirely about, taking the night pill, night pilling people, making sure everyone knows that you shouldn't be awake at all in the day.
It's like I was calling it back on the summer cast. It is just INSOMNIAC propaganda.
Pretty much.
Yeah, we covered the first episode over on the Summer Impressions cast, Card in the Corner if you have not seen it. And we had differing levels of appreciation for the show. You were definitely the biggest Call of the Night fan. I liked what I saw and was willing to see more, but I wasn't over the moon for it like you were.
I was definitely very, very hyped for Yofukashi in that podcast, and I think at the time there had been either 2 episodes or 3 episodes out. I think just 2.
I think 2, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like very much in my honeymoon phase. And that is wearing off a little bit. There are some cracks showing, I think, but it's still insanely good. And I think it's outright great.
Monogatari.
It's not better than Monogatari. I mean, actually, it depends on which season of Monogatari you're talking about. But on the whole, no, it's still not as good as Monogatari.
It's definitely wearing it's definitely wearing its Monogatari influence on its sleeve with all of its editing. Not to mention that I think we mentioned it on the summer cast. I forget the director's name, but he worked on a lot of the Monogatari series. And remember, if you enjoy the podcast, please be sure to hit the like button, head on down to the comments to let us know what you think of the show, and finally subscribe to the channel for more episodes of Castaway Anime and other videos.
これは僕が吸血鬼に恋をするための物語だ。
なあ、知ってるか？お前の血ってすげえうまいんだよ。
Tomoyuki Itamura. He is the director of every part of the Monogatari series except Bakemonogatari and Kizumonogatari. And
Those are both Shinbo, right?
No, those are both Tatsuyu Oishi. And then Shinbo was chief director on every single entry in the Monogatari series. Oh, except I actually forget if Tomoyuki Itamura did Zoku Owari. I think that might have just been Shinbo. Because that was during the Shaft staff exodus.
Zam.
So Zoku Owari might have been just Shinbo. I'm too lazy to look it up. But anyway, his directing style and like the influence he got from Shaft and Monogatari literally all over this show, and it only became more apparent the more of it I watched, to where it struck me that this feels more like a Shaft show than I think it was called fucking Luminous Witches from this season. That is an actual Shaft show spin-off. Yeah,
I think that one's just paying bills. Pretty much.
Keeping a clearly dying studio afloat. And it had none of Shaft's influence in it. It felt, Shinbo didn't even direct it. So is it even a Shaft show, bro? But this feels so Shaft-esque that if you told me Shaft made it, I'd be like, yeah, it's too high budget for Shaft right now. But yeah, I could see it.
It's funny that you say high budget because the character art, well, the animation is only okay. It does kind of pick up in certain moments, mainly episode 7 where they have a tiny fight scene, which is, it's not long, but the few bits of action we see are pretty decently animated. As far as the artwork goes, they are good at drawing faces, not so much bodies.
I think it's a stylistic thing. It's weird.
It's stylistic for the calves of the people to have tumors instead of like calf muscles.
I think it is supposed to be a stylistic thing. I'm not on board with it, but I will at least
I think you're giving this show a little too much credit. I think it just looks bad. I think they just did not draw them properly.
Well, my bigger problem with the show in terms of visuals, right? So episode 1 and 2 both look great, and I don't remember any problems with episode 3, even though that is usually the point where anime budgets start to go downhill. I definitely noticed some budgetary issues in episode 4 and onward, where when it's a close-up of the character, they normally aren't moving all that much, but like the actual art is high quality and looks appealing. It's like, okay, this is good looking thing in front of me. When the characters are at a distance, though, they're always very awkward looking. And
it's definitely got the feeling of I wouldn't call it moving manga, but I would call it just a step above.
I think that's giving it too little credit, because Tomoyuki Itamura's directing, like, it's very clearly directed like an anime as opposed to a manga, where there are things that are like, okay, yeah, this is definitely Tomoyuki Itamura more than the manga. So I wouldn't say moving manga necessarily.
I would suppose animation-wise, then, if like the amount of animation.
That's a fair assessment.
It's a lot of characters standing still or sitting still and talking.
Yeah, and it's kind of disappointing because, I mean, just from the first 2 episodes, I was like, whoa, this is really popping off. This looks like a fairly healthily budgeted production. This feels like something that's going to be, visually nice to look at. And in terms of staging and directing and the color choices, yeah, it's all there. Like, it looks really good in that sense. But in terms of animation, And in terms of art quality, it fluctuates, and that is probably my biggest disappointment with the show.
What you're telling me that you're not disappointed in both the creator of the manga and Lidenfilms for encouraging age gaps?
Oh God, are we gonna get to that?
I didn't think about it until I saw the moment in, I forget which episode number it was. It was when they're trying to exchange phone numbers, and Nazuna pulls out an old Rick cell phone, like the early cell phones they used when they were like fucking huge. And she was like, I'm not carrying that shit around. And it got me thinking, if she's got one of those, but she looks like a teenager, then how old is she actually? And I looked into it, so she apparently is at somewhere around her 40s.
I have seen a thread on AniList debating this. It was cancer, by the way.
Yeah, and what got me interested in that was like, I wonder if it's just a typical, this fantasy race creature just ages slower than normal people. And as I was looking into that info, I was on Mal, and I made the horrible mistake of scrolling down, because I was also looking at like staff and show information at the time. And I made the horrible mistake of scrolling down to the review section, and the top reviews.
Oh, you poor thing.
It was not by choice. My eyes just happened to scroll and skim past them while getting to the information I came for. And the top 2 of the 3 reviews on the page are both not recommends, because Mal also did this thing recently where they changed how reviews work on the platform.
I saw and I fucking hate it.
Yeah, I hate it. You can't see their scores until you hit the read more button and it's like see down at the end. And now they replaced it with a not recommended, it's okay, will recommend rating system. And you can also react to it now. Instead of finding reviews helpful or not helpful, you can react to them with emojis, which are like thumbs up, heart eyes, or laughing emoji. And granted, most of these top 2 reviews got laugh emoji bombed, so I think people are just taking the piss out of them, rightfully so. But the top 2 reviews were they're throwing around the P word. Throwing around the P bait word.
Piss boy?
I said bait.
Dang it. So I guess my take on it would be, Well, I mean, first of all, you can throw around the whole fiction is fiction thing, and that anime is supposed to be a fantasy. But secondly, I mean, Nazuna acts basically just like a teenager, and also looks like a teenager. And I think what you're supposed to think of her, I think you're supposed to think of her as basically a teenager, or at most in like her very early 20s.
I think one of the things that throws some people off is that despite all that, I have like the retard default is to just be like, oh, this woman is 40 years old and this kid is 14 years old, and in real life, yes, that would be bad, but as you said, this is fiction, and this is she's clearly made out to be a teenager, and she's also a flying, blood-sucking, phase-through-walls vampire, so it's not it's not too out of the realm of possibility to think that maybe the way they age and the way they view maturity is different. But what throws some people off is that in addition to her just being like a couple decades older than Ko, she also talks like she refers to him constantly as like kid, and like speaks in a way that like makes her sound more like an adult, and be like, yeah, I have these adult experiences. What say you, kid? And just constantly refers to him as such. It almost seems like if I had the default like knee-jerk reaction that some of these people have watching the show, I see the way that she talks and flirts with Ko, and I could see it. I do not fall for it, but I could see how they can construe it, this behavior as such, as one might say predatory.
I can see it, but I also just kind of disagree with it. Because, I mean, Nazuna is very, like, sort of, like, proud and a little haughty at times. And she's totally the type of person to be like, hey, I'm older than you. You're just a little boy. That feels like a Nazuna thing. And I think her calling him a boy, like, as in a kid, also comes from an immature place in her heart where, she's
literally they could change instead of making her like around 40 years old, they could have easily made her around 15 years old and nothing about her character would change.
Yep, that's basically it. I mean, I guess she drinks, so there's that.
Well,
but...
yeah, that justifies all of this decision. Like, she has to drink because that makes her more base.
True. So I don't know, I just don't... if you're uncomfortable with it, that's your prerogative. Personally, I am not uncomfortable with it. I think you are basically just supposed to see her as a teenager.
I was more weirded out by, I know we're jumping around here, but when Ko was talking to the office lady and be like, I'll make you fall in love with me, and when I become a vampire, I'll be able to turn you into one. I'm like, you know what that entails, right, bud? Yeah, you are actively saying to this woman who is human and also 10 years older than you that you're gonna make her fall in love with you.
Yeah. In all fairness, I forget exactly, but I'm like 90% sure that he doesn't actually reveal to her that she would need to fall in love with him. Am I correct on that?
He doesn't, but he knows that's
what
the conditions are.
So at the very least,
I found that a little weird to be like, you know what that entails, right? And also, how are you gonna be loyal to your woman, to your based drinking vampire GF, if you're gonna go around getting other ladies to fall in love with you?
So at least Shirakawa isn't a pedophile, but I think the show is going places.
She's gonna get reverse groomed by Ko. She's gonna become one, not of her own volition.
Oh
that's
my
how
God.
They get you. It's like the Bo Burnham bit. It's like the Bo Burnham bit. If I fuck a kid, I'm a pedophile. But if a kid fucks me, I'm a pedophile again, twice in one day.
I think, God, voice crack. I think the show is going somewhere with that, because Nazuna literally tells him, like, yo, like, it's not guaranteed you're gonna turn into a vampire. It's not guaranteed that you're gonna get her to fall in love with you. this is a really risky thing to promise her. And he's like, don't care. I want to make her survive her job. And I think what the show is eventually going to get at is that it was kind of an off the cuff, sort of reckless promise to make, because
it was more like
no
the concept of
guarantees.
like giving her like at least the idea that there could be an out if she so desired.
Yeah, but it's not like it's not something he can set in stone promise her. And so I don't think Ko's gonna end up with a harem of women he's going to turn into vampires or anything like that. I think it's gonna
You
stay
say that,
loyal
but that episode
Nazuna.
7's entire premise is him kind of developing a vampire harem, not of his own accord,
True.
but when is it ever of the main character's accord?
Although, in even more fairness, he stays loyal to Nazuna through all of that. He literally tells one of the girls, like, she's like, oh, do you think I'm attractive? He's like, no.
Giga Chad.
That was I literally paused the episode and wrote in my notes, like, holy shit, Ko is so based.
He does say at the first episode something around the lines of, does he say he doesn't understand women, or he doesn't like women?
He doesn't understand romantic attraction to women.
Ah, closet gay, classic. When is the second male character gonna show up in the show?
I'm not sure. And actually, it's
like
funny.
we do see like the blonde in the opening, the blonde dude with the red coat.
Yeah. So
'Cause I was wondering when we're gonna see all of the side characters, because up until episode 7, it was just Ko, Nazuna, and Akari. And I was like, it doesn't usually take this long for a show to introduce all of its side characters. And then little did I know, episode 7 is waiting to backload them all at once.
Yeah, that was shocking. I did not expect. I think there were like 4 new characters introduced in that episode.
5.
5. Okay.
All the vampire girls.
Fucking all of them. So I guess we've been a little all over the place as of now. So how do you want to tackle this?
Well, this show doesn't really, I don't think, lends itself to being benefited from talking in chronological order. There's not like much of a serious thread of narrative, so I think we just cover what we enjoyed or didn't enjoy.
I mostly agree, but semi-disagree in that I do think there is a bit of a narrative, and specifically...
Well, yeah, I'm saying there is a bit
the
of one. I'm just saying for the
Yeah.
podcast, it's not gonna be the end of the world if we don't go it in exact order.
All right. I'm gonna continue one of the crunchy memes right here and say that this show has, drumroll please, fuck, I hit my microphone. Theming.
I'm sure that'll sound great on the audio.
It's gonna sound fantastic. But I think the most interesting thing about this show, aside from a few bits of dialogue that I'll get into, there's this sort of through line of every character, except for Nazuna and I guess the vampires, or at least most of the vampires as far as we're aware, although granted, we've only just been introduced to their characters. But there's this idea that everyone's stuck in a rut, where like their life is beating them down and they feel not even necessarily depressed all the time, but that they don't feel energetic at all and that they don't enjoy going about their day-to-day activities. They're just sort of like, a lot of them are really deadpan too, like Ko and Akira especially are like both generally kind of like low energy sort of people.
I wouldn't call Ko deadpan. He's very expressive and enthusiastic when he's around, especially Nazuna. Like,
yeah,
even when he was by himself in the first episode, when he was like playing on that swing set, he was kind of having fun with himself.
Maybe deadpan isn't the right word, but like you can tell he isn't, he isn't nearly as prone to being
happy.
Bombastic. Yeah, and also that.
Yeah, he's like feigning happiness on the outside, but he's not satisfied.
So, everyone's stuck in a rut all the time, and the solution the show sort of provides is the fucking night pill. Just take the night pill, bro. And at first it's sort of just the meme of like, oh, this is Insomniac propaganda. The author just doesn't like sleeping. But I think there is a little more to it than that. When you ask yourself, like, why specifically the night? And I think the answer to why the night is that the night, staying up all night, puts you outside of like the realm of societal normalcy. You don't have to hold up a facade anymore. You don't have to pretend to feel things around other people that you aren't actually feeling. You don't have to, in essence, play a role in order to navigate society because you now exist sort of outside normal society. And it gives you a lot more time to think and reflect on your emotions when you aren't constantly having to talk to people. You can just go outside and meet fucking no one because it's the middle of the goddamn night. You're not going to see anyone. You don't have to put up any sort of facade or mask. You're just alone with your own emotions, or you're meeting like-minded people who are staying up all night. Either that or just drunks and people exhausted from, working all night. But aside from that, you're meeting like-minded people.
Like the same 3 drunk guys.
Yeah, the same 3 every episode. So I think that is why the show is sort of promoting the night pill.
Yeah, it's definitely pushing the this agenda of, hey, everyone's kind of got to like put up this, like you said, facade or this mask of like, hey, we all got to put up with the day, and then we got to like go to sleep at night to just do it all over again. And that's partially why Ko is so fed up with going to school, he just can't do it anymore. He's like, I just couldn't be bothered anymore, and he's done pretending, and that's why he's on his quest to become a vampire, because when he's a vampire, he can live like Nazuna. He doesn't care. He doesn't have to abide by normal human societal rules anymore.
Perhaps the most fascinating part of Ko's character to me is that he is like traditionally popular at school. He even says at one point, literally outright, girls like me, which, first time a male main character in an anime has ever said that. But
he does get confessed to by a girl in the first episode that he just turns down because he just doesn't understand romance.
Yep. And, he is popular, but it stems from him putting on this facade that, like deep down, he's like, holy shit, I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of living life like this. I just want to stay home, not go to school, not interact with anyone. He's an antisocial person putting on the facade of being a social person, in essence.
Yeah, he hates, they make it a point to be like, show how much he hates crowds, whether just the school setting or the nighttime pool setting, which, fucking based for being... It's probably not, but it's like the first anime in a long time where I was like, when the fuck was the last time we saw a pool episode at night?
I'm sure it's not the first one, but I can't honestly remember a single show that had a pool episode at night. Although, to be fair, everything in this show is at night.
Yep.
And funnily enough, there's like one... Alright, this is sort of going back to the budgetary issues, but in episode 4 near the end... There's the scene of Akira walking around town during the day. And I must say, the show's day set pieces way worse than the night ones. It looked really scuffed, honestly. The compositing felt all sorts of wonky, and it just looked kind of bad. It was the first time I looked at the show and I was like, this looks like beyond mediocre. This is just kind of bad.
I don't remember having a problem with that. I do remember taking a little bit of issue with how they composite with the lighting. Like, I like how they usually use purple lighting to characterize, the night setting when they're out on the streets. As I continued to watch the show, as they were, like, more and more outside, I was thinking to myself, it's weird that even though, like, there's, maybe it's non-diegetic too, but it's weird that for having so much purple lighting, you'd think there'd be like a purple shading or a purple bit of hue on the characters, but no, they're kind of like lit up as if they were just illuminated by street light or lamplight.
Yeah, I can definitely see that sort of criticism, and I do think it'd look better if they were sort of lit purple as well. But I also don't have an outright problem with it. You know, I more so see it as sort of missed potential at most.
Yeah, I'm not like flipping my desk over and be like, oh, the show fucking sucks, over it. It's but it's just something that's like, it's just like a weird thing that like you could have done to make it more visually interesting, but because you didn't do it, the show is not improving, or it could have been made better because of it, but you didn't do it, so your show is just kind of not as good for it.
Yeah, I do agree with that, even though the directing is fucking great on the whole. They, the cracks do show at times, and it ain't spectacular to watch when it does. So
Um,
here's okay. Actually, is there anything you want to say?
I was just gonna find an excuse to bring up Akira.
I was literally about to do that same thing by segueing with what is your favorite character in this show?
Um, if I'm being quite honest, no character has like grabbed me. No, I haven't seen a single character jump out at me and be like, "Oh, that's my guy." Not even in like a goofy. God damn it! It's in the I forgot his name, Bill Watkins or something from Spy Family, the buff kid. Not even like and like a goofy. This is probably a one-off character, but the concept is so goofy and memorable that I love it. I don't dislike any of the characters. I don't feel any attachment to the last few vampires because we only literally just got introduced to them, and we didn't have enough time to flesh out each one individually. So right now, the show pretty much consists of like 3 characters, 4 if you count the office lady. But I can't. I don't know how much of a recurring character she's gonna be. She showed up at the start of episode 7 for like a minute, and then she was gone. So basically, our only 3 characters are Ko, Nazuna, and Akira, who's Ko's childhood friend. And oh, you sounded like you were gonna say something.
I was gonna say something, but you can continue.
If I like had to like just pick a favorite, like off the cuff, off the gun, I would just say Nazuna only because she's the most aesthetically pleasing. I'm just not quite like hooked on her character yet. She's fun. She's just not like she hasn't sank her teeth into me for a fitting metaphor.
Well, at least it wasn't a food metaphor. My personal favorite character, and this was unexpected for me because I thought it'd be Nazuna, but it was actually Akira. She's this girl who used to be, you know, almost like she wasn't a Genki girl, but she was certainly like a lot more energetic back in the day, or at least more cheerful. But as time wore on, she became more jaded. She just sort of like stopped enjoying like being around at school and talking to people. You know, it's that rut I was talking about. And she's sort of my favorite iteration of it.
Is she like tired of it? Cuz like I didn't quite get what her deal was, cuz like seems like determined to bring Ko back to school, and like we can see that maybe she's like kind of suffering a similar sense of burnout, but with Ko, we get the story of how he put on the facade of trying to be a socialite and trying to be someone who could enjoy his time at school, but just like was hating it on the inside and just couldn't be fucked anymore. Whereas we don't really see that with Akira. She's just kind of like it is interesting how you say that she was energetic when she was younger, and as time goes on she's become a little more stoic. But outside of that, and we don't like see what caused that, and we might some point in the future, but as of right now we're unaware. I'm not like entirely sold on what her deal is, outside from just maybe like suffering a case of the seasonal depression or something. I don't know.
My read on Akira's character was that she's someone who is basically in a similar-ish situation to Ko, where she, I think at one point she even says that like maybe she does say this, maybe she doesn't. Like she doesn't feel even very enthused about much nowadays. At least not nearly as much as before, and she's sort of getting tired of it. She's having insomnia. Uh, she's not really having a fun time at school, not having a fun time with her life. At least that's the impression I get. But she's still clinging to normalcy, unlike Ko, who is just completely night pilled, wanting to become a vampire. Sort of considers himself to have gone mad, but still is like, hey, this makes me happy. Whereas Akira is more like, I don't enjoy anything anymore, but I'm still going to soldier through the day, even if there are these brief stints with the night pill, and even if I enjoy spending my time at night with Ko and Nazuna, even if this does make me more happy than I've felt in ages, I'm still going to cling to normalcy the best I can.
You see, the way you're describing that sounds like you could apply it one-to-one with the office lady, and I was more invested in the office lady's plight because she had like a bit of an emotional stake, because unlike Ko and Akira, she's an adult and a working office lady, and she's getting tired of coming in and like late hours into the night. Crazy being like how her boss is ringing her up at 2 a.m. like, hey, we got urgent work, we need you to come into the office. She's getting fed up with all the after work drinking parties that she doesn't really enjoy, but she's got to put on the face because it's kind of what you got to do when you're an adult. And it lends itself to, it explores this theme that I enjoy we don't really get with Akira, of how similar to Ko, she is also putting on a face at her work, whereas Ko did it with school. But with the office lady, whose name I forget, so I'm just gonna call her office lady.
Shirakawa.
Okay, Shirakawa. Her deal is that because she's an adult, she's like, oh, I envy you, Ko. You don't you have the choice to just walk away from school, but I'm an adult. I have to do my job, because if I don't do my job, then I don't get to live. I can't you don't make money when you go to school, but yeah, I gotta do this to make money, or else I'm just kind of fucked. And I don't like that I have to do that. But I'm an adult. I just gotta soldier on. And it brings up this theme of it's criticizing how even though you're an adult, it's fucked up that you have to rationalize these things that are unfair and probably just bad for your mental health. That's but you have to but you rationalize and cope with it by saying, well, that's just what happens when you get older. But Coach is like, that's fucking bullshit. Your boss is an asshole for calling you at 2 a.m.
That is a very based scene. I think the main thing separating Akira from Shirakawa is that Akira, we're given no indication that she can't take the night pill and, stay up all night and not go to school. We're given no indication that she would be barred from doing so, but emotionally she feels like she must shoulder on and continue normalcy. Whereas with Shirakawa, it seems like if given the choice, she probably would, stay up all night.
Yeah, because she literally did before
can't.
When she was younger.
Yeah,
and she enjoyed it, but then she got older and was like, well, I can't afford to do this anymore.
Yeah, it's like with Shirakawa, she literally can't take the night pill, no matter how much she wants to. And I think that dichotomy is interesting and is enough of a differentiation for me to value Akira and Shirakawa both as characters. And also, they're just entirely different in terms of personality. Akira just sort of stoically soldiers on, whereas Shirakawa is on the verge of an emotional breakdown.
I just feel like while the end result might be slightly different, I feel like both of their narrative purposes, their purposes in the narrative are kind of identical. We just get a more fulfilling story to tell, a more fulfilling narrative through line with Shirakawa than we do with Akira. The one thing Akira does have over the office lady, though, is her design, because holy fucking shit. Li- Literally, it feels like the author went into my brain and was like, what are all the things that Neon Manta enjoys in female character designs? Let's see. Messy hair, small eyes, has a really adorable pout that has on her face at all times. Even fucking things like the way her tie just always hangs off of her chest when she's just like standing in a neutral position. It's just, I don't know, something about that is like kind of funny to me.
I definitely like her design. Probably my favorite. Actually, there's one of the vampire girls that has a really great design. I forget her name.
It better not be the one with like who has her sleeves like constantly up and like too big for her.
I
her
think
arms.
that's the one. Hold on, I'm going
Oh,
on to Call of the
no.
Night. Hold on, I need to.
I think her
grab
name
an
was like
image of the kid.
Midori. She's like the energetic, bubbly one, the one who tries to sit next to him.
She's the one with the Satania voice actor.
I do not know. I did not look up any of the voice actors aside from Nazuna's.
I recognized her voice actor instantly. Yeah, Midori. I like her design a lot.
Oh no. you like the I was gonna say she's like the closest thing to like a nerdy e-girl, or like the kind of girl who would do a thing where it's like she pulls her sleeve up. Like it's the typical cutesy, like, oh, this is too good to be true. This girl's like doing this thing that is too cute to be true.
Well, see, I'm speaking purely from like a design aesthetic sense, because I am not hooked on her character at all yet.
That makes it worse.
How does it make it worse?
That's the kind on site. That's the kind of women you prefer.
I just like her character design, bro. I like the short hair and like her eyes too. Just a really nice package.
Speaking of voice actors, Nazuna's voice actress, Sora Amamiya, is having a fucking ton of fun with her performance.
Nazuna's voice actor is great, and there is one part in, I think it's episode 6, yeah, episode 6, where Ko's voice actor just goes off the rails and yelling as loud as possible, "You're not leaving this apartment. You know, we're not going to let you go back to your house." Ko's voice actor is going
And under
ham.
any other circumstance, in fact, maybe even in this exact circumstance, the office lady would be like, "Yeah, I'm calling the police."
I mean, it would not be an overreaction.
I feel like I get what the intention of the scene was. I just feel like maybe we could have thrown the script back in for a second draft and make it a little less creepy.
I mean, I think that was the point of the scene too, like sort of.
Well, like I get that it was like kind of intent to be like, oh, what he's saying is kind of like cringe and kind of socially inept because he's not very like good with other people, but and he was just kind of speaking from the heart without like putting his words through a filter. I just find it very amusing that when she's like, "Sorry, I have to go. If you could please like leave the room now," and he goes over to the door, locks it, like literally holds it shut, be like, "You're not going anywhere."
I mean, separate from being cringe, I do think it's supposed to, yeah. Like at the beginning of the scene, she's literally like, "Should I be here? Is this safe?" I think the scene is sort of riffing on that idea.
Right. Oh yeah, but like fucking, I think it was episode 4 where Nazuna is angry with Ko and like storming off in a huff, and then Sora Amamiya hits us with the most scrumptious fucking rolling of the her throat baka.
I do remember that
Very
scene.
good.
It was from episode 3, actually.
Oh,
Really
3,
great
okay.
performance.
The one with the middle finger.
Yeah, I think that was episode 3.
I could have sworn that was 4. In
Episode
fact, I'm
3
looking
is,
at my.
she's mad about Akira,
Okay, yeah,
right?
no, you're right. It is 3. It is
Okay.
3. You're right. Episode 4 is when they hit us with the Akari bath scene. That was like
Based.
my only note on that was like epic.
I guess going back to Akira and why I think, like, why she's my personal favorite character, I just vibe with her personality, man. I love her, like, almost sort of cheerful demeanor, but at the same time, it's so heavily buried under, like, so much stoicism and lack of emotion. Where, like, you feel that she used to be more energetic just in her dialogue. Where it's like, you can tell this is just an energetic person who has just completely become this stoic individual, a lot more emotionless. It's a very unique texture, and I think her voice actor also sells it very hard.
The first time I was watching her episode, I thought she was the girl that confessed to Ko in episode 1 and got rejected.
I actually thought that for a split second at first, but pretty quickly the misunderstanding.
Then I went back to episode 1 and like, am I remembering this right? And it's a different girl. Probably just like some random extra background that they made. But it does lend up to this point that I had. It's like, huh. The manga, I forget his name, but I think he can only draw like 2 female faces. He can either draw a Nazuna / Hotaru face, or she could draw he can draw a Akari / Saya face.
I
They
didn't
either got
actually
like the
notice
big crazy eyes or the dead eyes.
There are certainly a lot of dead eyes in this show.
I mean, I fucking love it. Saya Endo from Dagashi Kashi is one of the hottest fucking female designs I've ever seen. I just wish she was attached to a better show / manga.
I'm looking through the characters right now, just looking at their eyes, and yeah, you're kind of right.
Yeah, dude, fucking. I
Literally
just
two
love
eyes.
characters with like tiny, like small dead eyes.
I mean, hey, it is a vibe. Kobayashi
That's
kind
why
of red pilled me on them.
I was gonna say it was I watched Dagashi Kashi before Dragon Maid, and well, actually maybe that's not true. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what in the fuck I watched Dagashi Kashi because I've forgotten so much of it. All I remember is that damn, I love me some thin, vertically slanted eyes.
Just the tiniest smidgen of a pupil.
Let's see what else is there. The eye catchers in the show look fucking sick.
I agree. I think they look very good. The main thing keeping this show buoyed on a moment-to-moment level, I guess, is that there are a lot of very oddly evocative pieces of dialogue that are like instantly relatable, but in a way that most shows aren't. And I have a few of these quoted here. The first one that was really like, whoa, this is based and I get it completely, is when Ko says, or rather monologues to himself, saying, the feeling of having fun is an emotional strain in and of itself. And that was like, whoa, I get that completely, and I also haven't heard that in an anime before.
You see, I heard that line and I was like, I thought what I thought the intention was is that this guy is like so disconnected from like happiness and society that like he finds that like just trying like the act of trying to have fun, or even if he does find himself having fun sometimes, is a strain to him. Cause I don't know about you, but when I'm having fun, it is like not a strain. If anything, it is less straining.
I think it's specifically because his fun right now, like the most fun he has in his day-to-day life, is like social interaction. And that does stem from him being, kind of socially inept and disconnected from society. And so, of course, he's going to feel a little burnt out from that. But I also just viscerally relate to it on like the level of sometimes it's nice to just go on a walk and do nothing except, think to yourself. Like sometimes that is easier than having fun and having to pay attention to something in order to have fun.
I can agree with that on some level. It's just that my knee-jerk reaction to that line was just like, oh, that sounds like loser speak.
Oh no.
That sounds like
Crunchy
sad boy
loser?
depression leak.
Does Crunchy is Ray?
Ray who?
Kiriyama.
Oh.
I got reminded of him when you said sad boy.
I mean, I wouldn't call Ko a sad boy on the level of Ray.
Definitely not that sad of a boy.
No, he can at least emote and have fun, whereas you're not gonna find Ko screaming his head off in a playground.
Not yet, at least. There is another line that this one wasn't even really viscerally relatable so much as just hilarious to me, where Ko's like, having my blood sucked clears my head and calms my emotions. And I just smacked my desk and was like, wow, I wonder what that's an allegory for. I fucking wonder.
Yeah, there's this weird through line that they're going through with equating getting their blood sucked to sex. And it's weird, not like in a bad way, but it's just weird considering that like she says straight up how it's both the way she eats and the way vampires copulate. And it's fascinating to see when we also see her like being so casual about, hey, want to sleep in the same bed with me? And she never gets into like sexual situations with Ko outside to her just sucking his blood. But it's funny to see it in both the way that she cannot like is flustered around like the actual talk of romance and love, but when she's like making lewd jokes or doing sexy things, like she just wears what is essentially a bikini top and short shorts out in public for her casual attire with just a big simultaneous both, it's like a coat and a hoodie, and she uses that as a cape. And it's funny to see her act that way, but then when like some Ko's talk about, hey, I want to make you my girlfriend, I want to fall in love with you, she gets so embarrassed about it.
That is an interesting dichotomy and very funny on occasion. I also just thought of this. When people get their blood sucked as a meal, does that mean they get fucked to death? Like on a technicality, they're being fucked to death, right?
I suppose. Because I was gonna disagree, but then I remembered, like, well, I suppose you can fuck without reproducing.
Yeah, so I guess. Pff. Okay, that's a fun thought. Yeah, I showed you some of these notes before, but I had this little face-off between the dress-up darling love hotel scene and the Yofukashi no Uta hotel scene, where it's like, oh
there
god,
was no
we're in a
sexual
love hotel.
there was no sexual tension in the Call of the Night scene, so the Dress Up Darling one's better by a landslide.
Although I will say that I did like the conversation in the love hotel where Ko's it's kind of a very fascinating conversation with a pretty interesting resolution, which is that Ko feels these sort of like sexual thoughts about Nazuna, and he's like, but I still think of you as just a friend, you know, like I'm not in love with you yet. You're just my bro, and it feels kind of immoral to, you know, be look at my bro's boobs and be like, whoa, that's kind of hot. And then Nazuna's response to that is basically, she sort of frames it in a way where like it doesn't feel like genuine advice, but it's totally just her giving him genuine advice, where she's like, hey, look, feel your emotions because it makes your blood tasty. When at least my reading of it is that Nazuna is trying to help him by saying, look, it doesn't matter what you feel, just feel it in full. Don't try to avoid what you're feeling. Don't try to, you know, escape your emotions. Just feel it fully, because we're bros, and I don't care if you know, feel things like that sometimes. Basically saying don't run away from your emotions, which, good advice. Me like.
Yeah, they make it a point to be like how Ko is confusing lust with romance, or lust with love, whereas he, in episode, I think it was like 3, it was episode 4, where after he gets kissed by Nazuna at the end of episode 3, and he's like, wait, if you can only kiss with people who like in a relationship with. So does that mean I'm in love with her? I mean, I felt something after the kiss, so surely it must be. And then he rings up Nazuna, be like, all right, I'm ready. I've fallen in love with you. Go ahead, suck my blood right now, turn me, baby. And then she does, and he's like, wait, what the fuck? I'm not a vampire yet. And she's like, yeah, that must mean because you don't love me, bro. Well, what you got aroused by my kiss, but you didn't like fall in love with me over it.
I actually, what I found most amusing about the lead into that scene is Ko literally says like, Nazuna kissed me, so I must be in love. And my note is just, holy shit, he has zero understanding of cause and effect, doesn't he? Just kind of an amusing line.
He is kind of an autist.
Doesn't understand the first thing about romance, apparently. Genuinely brain dead.
Yeah, but going back to the love hotel scene, it is fascinating how is like so kind of distraught over how he's like it feels kind of immoral to like view a friend as someone I could fall in love with, because it's probably bringing up that thing of like, oh, if you fall in love with like a friend or someone you've known for a long time, like it could possibly like mess up the relationship, or it's like, is it immoral to try to expect more out of a relationship like that when you've like had it was like this way for so long?
That is definitely one thing he could be meaning. I got more of an impression that he's like, it's sort of like the inherently dirty feeling you get from like thinking, oh, my bro is actually kind of hot. Where like his sort of like knee-jerk reaction feels dirty to him, and like he shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
At least that's how I see it.
And it's just, and I was trying to think of something, the next thing to say, but then the image of Nazuna jumping on the bed in the hotel just kept playing on loop in my head. Let's see. Then kind of running out of things to say already. I thought we'd be going for at least like a few more minutes. I'm just scrolling through my notes to see. I suppose I could shit talk Monogatari a little more.
Okay, we're gonna fight then. Okay, go ahead.
My note says I'm more invested in these kids playing with walkie-talkies than I am seeing the teens from Monogatari talk about nothing on a playground for 5 minutes. Now, why is that?
Going into why would require significantly derailing this discussion, because I could defend Monogatari for fucking hours. I love that shit. I've seen I've seen the arc, like the arc that sends you, the Mayoi Snail arc. I've seen that like 4 times. I have the thing fucking memorized at this point.
I think my issue with it is that I'm sure it's probably not this way throughout the entire Monogatari series, but Ray, no, wait, not Ray. What's the fucking dude's name from
Araragi?
Araragi, yeah, okay. I don't know why I was thinking of March Comes Like a Lion. I thought they both had the same name. Araragi and Senjikahara are incapable of emoting. They are like having, like, they can like crack a smile and say like a funny little say it with a smirk, a funny little jab at the other, but they always seem to be like always in serious mode. Barely ever any way for chemistry to develop between them when they're like so stone-faced all the time and like talking in like a monotone voice about the fucking whatever the fuck they were talking about on that playground or their supernatural shit. I don't know, it put my friend to sleep. I've told the story on the podcast before, but
I would disagree about Araragi being deadpan, but that would be an aside. So let's bring this back.
I'm just going off of the first few episodes of what I remember from Bakemonogatari.
Well, we can get to that when we have the it's inevitable at this point Bakemonogatari podcast. See you in 4 years.
Yeah, I'll find all manners of show to try to put before that one before we have to get to that.
Honestly, I would too, because I've seen Bakemonogatari too much and just need to put some space between me and it.
I need to put about, let's see, I'm 22 right now. Probably got a good 70 years at least left, 75 years left within me. Yeah, about like 75 years worth of space. Assuming
Well,
we're still
hey.
doing the podcast. I was going to say, now that I say it out loud, probably prefer not to be doing the podcast 75 years from now.
I mean, hey, at least if we do it when you're like, what, 95 or something like that, when I stab you after the podcast, you will have lived a long and healthy life.
After I've talked to Monogatari for the last time.
Yeah. Well, that was far away, but I'll give you this. All right, I'll give you this, which is that Ko and Nazuna definitely emote far more than Araragi and Senjo Gahara, especially Senjo Gahara. And if that barred you from connecting with them in Monogatari, then yeah, it makes sense why you'd be a lot more connected to the characters in Call of the Night. Because they do voice cracks, again, they do emote quite a bit. Like, even though I said, like, Ko, mild sad boy vibes, no, he still has fun on the swings, like you brought up, and still has a banger dynamic with Nazuna.
I'll even spread the hate evenly. It's why I prefer this like 1,000 times more than something like Bunny Girl Senpai, because the main characters in that kind of have a similar problem where they seem to be always in serious mode. I've seen clips of it. They do tend to get more in like a sarcastic, joking mood, but they are never still able to emote. They're always like very passive aggressive about their sarcasm or when they're allowed to express themselves, other than stern, like straightforward, oh, we're talking about deep, meaningful concepts, like, ooh, Schrodinger's cat, oh man, fucking so philosophical. Whereas these fuckers are just talking about how cool their lame-ass walkie-talkies are, and how Nazuna's laughing her fucking ass off over it. Oh my god, you kept your sad little toy from when you bought when you were a kid that you never used, hoping that one day you'd hear a call on the other end. That's so fucking sad, bro. And he's like, yeah, that is kind of fucking sad and funny. I wore it as a goof, and I'm glad it's making you laugh. It's like, wow, that's chemistry. I'm feeling things right now.
I will say episode 2 of Call of the Night was definitely the episode that like hard sold Nazuna and Ko's dynamic, because the entire thing is basically them, you know, getting to know each other and to sell you on this dynamic as hard as possible in as short a time as possible, as early into the series as possible.
That is a good way of putting it. I think my favorite character in the show is the dynamic between Ko and Nazuna. I like their relationship more than I like either of them individually.
Which I think is fine, because, you know, characters don't exist in a vacuum, or at least they shouldn't exist in a vacuum. They should always be...
Unless they're just that fucking good.
Unless.
Like the Spy X Family kid.
Yeah, fair point. You know, like, characters are built by their dynamics. At least that's how I see things. And yep, Ko and Nazuna have a fucking great dynamic, and the best one of the show, easily.
I have a question for you. Do you find it retarded that Akira doesn't think that Nazuna is a vampire?
She doesn't?
Well, at least she was... She said something along the lines of that, like, when they're at that restaurant, I'm not sure I believe you're a vampire. I'm like, bitch, she drank his blood in front of you. All she has to do is fly in the air once or phase through a wall. I think she calls her a monster, like, and like kind of refuses to like acknowledge the vampire specifically. I'm not sure why.
It's been honestly a long time since I've seen episode 3, because that was way back when. The read I got was that she thinks Ko and this girl are like, no, perfectly human and normal, but that it's just, I don't know, like a really weird fetish or something. At least that was my explanation.
Understands that. I think she understands.
I do remember
that
like
she is a monster. Like
I said
she's not
that,
human.
but then you said the monster line, and I remembered that did indeed happen. And that sort of throws
And, like,
my
she-
initial theory into question.
Yeah, like literally twice, she sucks his blood in front of her, and I think she, fucking Ko explains to Akira while Nazuna's in the room. Oh yeah, I'm trying to let her suck my blood and fall in love with her because if I do, she's gonna turn me into a vampire. And she's like going along with it, be like, well, at least you have a dream. It's good that you have aspirations, and wish you the best of your luck. I just found that one line kind of weird. Being like, I thought it was gonna be like, I thought they were gonna make it a thing and be like, are you sure this is a vampire? I don't believe you.
I mean, that would have gotten fucking obnoxious real quick.
Especially because she could easily disprove it. I feel like the office lady figured out the vampire thing before Akira does.
Oh, way faster. Shirakawa sees her, like jump out of okay, so Nazuna throws her out a window, then Ko grabs onto her, then Nazuna comes in and starts flying. Oh, and also she phases through a wall in front of her, and Shirakawa's instantly like, "Yep, vampire. Makes sense." Honestly, gets over the initial shock of it really quick.
Why the fuck did I start calling Akira Akari like halfway through my notes?
You got
I'm looking through
Sangatsu
my
no
notes right
Lion on the
now.
brain.
I'm gonna be real. I forgot that there was a character in Sangatsu named Akari.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm in my first few episodes of the notes. I say it right, Akira, but then starting in episode 4, I just call her Akari the whole time.
The final thing I guess I have to say about this show that sort of keeps it watchable on a moment-to-moment basis is a lot of the more slice of lifey individual plot lines were like, oh, they're at this nighttime pool thing at a party, and by the way, the reveal that Nazuna is a professional cuddler is fucking hilarious and had my sides in stitches. Stuff like that.
I didn't think it was that funny, but I found it appropriate and also a little bit sad to be reminded of, oh yeah, that is a thing.
That was why I found it so funny, because I was like, damn, I know exactly what kind of people are signing up for that.
And it's like, damn, I wonder if I had like if that were a thing over in the I make fun of it, and I make fun of people be like, oh, you fucking, I heavily judge anyone who like pays for shit like OnlyFans or like a porn subscription. Be like, why would you do that when you could just get all of it online for free? And but like there are some moments where I'm like, damn, if I had something like a professional cuddler or something like in the West, like how long could I hold out for?
That
How
is
long
the question.
Could I stand absolute and firm before you cave to temptation?
I mean, come on, look at Nazuna's face. How could you say no to that? Actually, if she just put her hair down and said, "Yo, I'm a professional cuddler," who would be able to say no?
Yeah,
if she had her
I
hair
suppose
down?
I would give her my entire checking account.
As long
you
as
make a good
she's
point.
like fresh out of the shower, hair down, she could get like 10 times more
Gives
money
up the
that
double
way.
peace sign.
Yeah, that fucking frame is so good. I remember you sent it to me before I even saw the episode.
I didn't see the episode yet either. I just saw that floating around. And I was like, God damn.
So yeah, good
Ko and
slice of
Nazuna
life
play
stuff.
Street Fighter Alpha 3 on the PS1. Sick.
I like how overly energetic they get around video games. I mean, they're energetic towards each other in general, but when they're gaming, they go all in, and it's a treat to see.
Bruh, did you see the motherfucking Doki Doki Literature Club reference?
I did see that. I didn't make a note of it, but I do remember it. I forget what they... It was like
they
Doki
just
Doki
call it
something
like the
club.
Doki Doki Sewing Club.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like the character designs are like, they alter them enough to be legally distinct, but like they use the exact same like colors for their hair as Sayori, Sayori Yuria and Nanachi. What the fuck? Nanaki? Is that her name? Natsuki. Okay. I can't believe I forgot Best Girl's name.
So I guess Ko is in for a rude awakening eventually.
Well, I didn't see a Monica parody though. Like the fourth girl that showed up in that game was a green-haired girl. I just thought that was the cool thing because I didn't know how
Yeah.
big Doki Doki Literature Club was in Japan.
Apparently big enough to be parodied like that, so cool.
Now I just wonder if that was an anime thing or a manga thing. Like kind of like how KyoAni made the conscious choice to reference Dark Souls in Dragon Maid, whereas in the manga it's just like some generic looking fantasy video game.
Let's see. Any other notes I have? I think I'll watch episode 8 as soon as it comes out, cause that cliffhanger sort of at the end of episode 7 where they all haunt at him. You know, that's got me kind of hooked to instantly watch the next episode.
I wouldn't say hooked, but it did get me wondering. Like his last line was, "Don't worry, I'll fall in love with Nazuna even if it takes years for me to become a vampire." And everyone's like, "Wait, what?" Almost like that there's going to be some kind of ticking clock element added to the show. Like, oh, if you don't fall in love with a vampire in a few years, they're going to fucking tear your throat out or something.
Oh, that would be interesting. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you have until the end of the year, or else Nazuna's going to go feral mode because she's too addicted to your blood. She's going to rip your fucking heart out.
That would be
Typical
a fascinating
female behavior.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking through my note. I guess vampires in this world are immune to sunlight because we don't see her out in direct like daylight, but she gets hit with sunbeams through a window and she does not recoil at all.
I did notice that. Other than that, I guess my final thoughts on the show would be like one of the main things keeping it interesting. I feel like I've used that transition like 5 times in this episode, but another one of the main things.
Don't worry, I keep saying things like, "What's fascinating to me about blank?"
Yeah. Is that I just like the stirring pot right now. You know, all the ideas it's bouncing around, the way it explores them, the aesthetic. This entire thing about night. The stirring pot is very nice to just sit in and watch, and this was another. I mean, granted, it was partially because I only had to watch 4 episodes because I had seen the first 3 weekly, but it was a very, very easy binge for the podcast. I was like, good time.
I think to sum up my thoughts of the show thus far, as it's halfway done now, it's good. I'm just I'm not sold on it. I'm not prepared to call it show of the season because I've still only seen the first episode of Lycoris Recoil, but I've been seeing the clips and I've been eyeing it from the corner of my eye, and I've seen some of the developments that happen, and I'm still thinking like, man, I have the strongest feeling that when I sit down and I watch it, I'm just gonna love it like I think I will.
I'm still wondering how sold I am going to be on Lycoris Recoil. Will it make me recoil? That is the question. So this might still be show of the season for me. Even if the honeymoon phase is fading a little and it's getting to that point where it's like, okay, it'd have to get really good, like very suddenly to be a 9 out of 10. But I guess I'm fine calling this like a light 8 so far. Maybe even a strong 7.
I'm not even there right now. I'm hovering at like a 7 right now. And honestly, if it don't get like real interesting real soon, it could drop to a 6.
Oh damn. Yeah, like I'd put it no lower than a 7.
It's like it hasn't done anything 6 worthy yet, but it's not blowing my socks off.
I'd say it's just overall a very enjoyable time. I like all the characters so far, except for all the vampires, but obviously, like there's like 5 of them. How could I possibly be endeared to them?
I will say, I did not on purpose. This came about as an accident while I was looking up images of the show to use for the thumbnail. I got spoiled on some fascinating developments that happen in the manga that we're definitely not going to reach in this 13 episodes of the show, but it definitely got me my interest peaked in checking out the manga, possibly.
I have heard that the manga gets really weird as it goes on. That is what I have been told by my friends who are manga readers.
Yeah, the story, it does look like the story takes a shift, and there's a lot more dramatic elements introduced, and we get less of the comfy, nighttime chicanery and debauchery, and more into a serious, like hard tonal shift. But we're definitely not seeing that in this show. At least not yet. Who knows if this is gonna get a second season or not.
I dearly hope it does, because I like the first season so far, and if Tomoyuki Itamura is directing it, it's probably gonna at least be directed well with like really interestingly framed shots. So I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the episodes of this season, and watching season 2 if it comes out, and reading the manga if season 2 doesn't end up happening.
The very last thing I want to leave off on is opening. I think we touched on it slightly in the summer cast, but it has grown. I was already super into it before, but now I'm just like, it's a contender for opening of the year.
Honestly, I keep on voice cracking today for some reason. At first, I was like, this is a vibe, but it's not anything and then I heard it again, and again, and again, and I was like, this is actually, like, really good. Like, insanely good. Like,
I will
better
say
than the ending.
It is one of those songs where I like the beginning of it more than I like the verses of it more than the chorus, which like rarely happens. Usually in songs you like the chorus more.
I actually agree with that.
But as far as the opening, like as like a kind of a music video, as like an intro to the show, it's fucking banger. Love how all the lyrics appear on screen somehow, whether they just like throw the text onto the screen or like they incorporate them onto a background element. The dancing, all of the crazy visuals that they do.
The specific shot that's like rent free in my head. Actually, there's two of them. One of Ko's silhouette walking through this forest with like apple trees in it, because I just think it looks kind of neat. And the second one of all the characters falling from the sky. That entire clip is rent free.
It's one of those openings where you can pause it on almost any frame and it would make a good wallpaper.
Pretty much. I can't think of any that wouldn't.
And then the ending, while not as good, it's a good song. The visuals are more interesting when they're the constant like shifting clips of her just like destroying that model city that you were talking about. All those weird cuts of her like walking towards a chair, doing these weird poses with her hands, biting into a lemon.
The cum
it's not
tub.
as the cum. Either she chose to sink the cum rather than to come in the sink. I know it's just bubbles, it's just like a weird bubble bath, but like it's cum.
That had to be intentional. They had to be intending that. Come on. There's no way someone drew that and didn't immediately think of it.
The bubbles just have the cum consistency. It's unless it's not even supposed to be a bubble bath. In that case, I don't even know what it's supposed to be.
Random viscous white liquid. Well, that just sounds like cum, doesn't it?
you just described cum. It's just the cum tub. I don't get it.
Imagine if
I don't get the narrative reason behind it unless you just want to have your sexy anime girl in the cum tub.
Dude, imagine if the thumbnail for this podcast was that shot of her in the cum tub, then like bold impact font, top and bottom, cum tub, cum tub.
No. It's cum tub bottom text.
Yes. Cum tub bottom text. Honestly,
I kind of want, now that you said that, we both said that out loud, I kind of want to see if we can make that the thumbnail without getting fucking destroyed by the algorithm.
I wonder. It is a funny thumbnail, and I do think it would get clicked.
You know what? The viewers will know by the time this video goes up, but I guess we'll workshop it. We'll experiment for now. I'll keep 2 copies of the thumbnail on hand. And I suppose that's gonna do it for this episode of Castaway Anime, unless you have any other thoughts.
Nope.
Alright, we're just gonna leave it off on the cum tub. If you enjoyed our thoughts on Call of the Cum Tub, leave a like, tell us what you thought of the show, subscribe to the channel for more, check out Crunchy's web novel in the description. When is that contest ending?
September 1st, but I want to have it done on the 31st just in case. So, I'm gonna be cramming like crazy, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah, check all the socials in the description, subscribe to the channel. That's it for this episode of Castaway Anime. I'm Neon Manta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.
Cum tub.